If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.
Around asbestos or anything? I had a friend in California that died. He worked for Rockwell Rocket Motors, and he died of asbestos, got asbestos in it. Yeah. Doug Condo, he's a good guy. He was actually, his family was interned during World War II in the camps. So he got raised. The beginning of his life were in the Japanese camps.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, we do a lot of things that are less than perfect, but boy, you can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine that the fear that we as Americans had at the beginning of World War II, when we were attacked by Japan. We got all these little Japanese people around, you know,
Right.
you're thinking which, you know, it's like they used to say, there's 20 steaks in a bucket, and only one of them's poisonous, and all you got to do is reach in there and pull out one snake.
Yeah, that's right.
It might not be the poisonous one.
And you also have the threat to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to protect them too, some way.
Yeah.
You leave them in the neighborhoods, and you know who knows what's going to happen. So it's kind of both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't think many of them saw that as, as a good reason, but that's the way it was. FDR, everybody forgets who the president was then too, and that he was a Democrat. So, so I was looking at the news headlines here. Don't see anything particularly super exciting.
Bondi got fired.
Yeah, I heard about that. The Tucson news headlines are pickup driver killed in Tucson crash. Political notebook lawsuit adds to Marana data center saga. And I don't see anything on here about the kidnapping at all.
Wow.
It's all
Finally reached.
basketball headlines.
Yeah.
Nothing about there's anything on here about the kidnapping. And I heard they found a bloody shirt or something behind the house.
No, I hadn't heard that. And I can't believe they just found that.
Some insurance guy was looking around, and he found this bloody shirt back in a ditch behind the house. And I haven't heard a word about it. So
I'm just going to say it probably had a lot of muddy boot prints on it from people walking over it and around it and through it.
yeah,
Because it had 100 people looking around there.
I still can't figure out why they went up on the roof. But maybe just
Because they couldn't find anything on the ground.
yeah, just to be thorough, I guess, right? And then the headlines in the Phoenix papers says, can Raytheon plant keep up with missiles needed in Iran? And something about some guy fell out of the stands at a D-backs game. Fell from the railing. I don't know what else. I did hear that they were trying to rename a road in Phoenix after Charlie Kirk, and Hobbs vetoed it. Did you hear
Yeah,
that?
yeah. She also
They get.
vetoed a Charlie Kirk license plate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think she likes Christians.
Yeah, I don't think so. Arizona repeals Cesar Chavez Day.
Yeah, got caught with more than his hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah. He was very anti-illegal immigrant because they
Well,
took
that was a
jobs.
practical matter.
Yeah, yeah,
That wasn't a legal
yeah.
matter. It
Right.
interfered with his
Interfered with his union.
money.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Metro Phoenix to get new Costco gas station. And boy, there's not much here. That's about it for headlines. Arizona sexual material bill sparks censorship debate. At issue is what content might get swept into the definition of harmful to minors.
It's funny how we protect children from sex, and
Yeah,
then and I don't oppose that, but what about all the hundreds of families that were brought up in one room houses, and had 5 kids?
yeah,
The oldest one had to have known something was going on.
yeah. It's true. It's very true. Yeah. Oh, we'll see if Ken comes on here in a minute.
Yeah.
So you got a rant for the week? Anything exciting?
I don't really have any, but well, I kind of do actually. My wife's been in Mississippi for 2 weeks now,
Right. So you going
and
hungry?
she was supposed to. Oh, no, no, no! I do all the cooking out here. Um,
Okay.
it gives me a chance to try the not erotic, exotic stuff
Yeah.
that she doesn't necessarily like, spicy stuff
Yeah.
and things like that. So this is the 2 weeks I get to play. But I
Yeah.
just got a note from her today that her brother, who had a knee operation, she was supposed to come home on the 7th, and now he's saying, I don't know if you can leave that soon because I don't know if I can get around well enough to let you go.
Hmm.
So she said we'll talk tonight, but I'm going to be in Lafayette on the 15th. So that's just a week past when she was going to be coming down anyway.
Right.
So I'll just have her come to Lafayette, and we'll drive home together.
Sure.
That's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, you can't tell about those knees. Some people just come through them like, just lickety split, and other people it really drags on for a
Uh,
while to rehab. Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the doctor or the type of knee replacement.
Yeah. Well, I think from what I learned, all they do is they put a new pad in between your joint.
Hmm.
They don't really physically replace the bone or anything. They just put a new friction pad in there so it's not rubbing anymore.
That must be
Bone, it's
that
not
must be
bone on bone.
something they've learned and
Yeah.
perfected, because in the old days I had a friend that had a knee replacement, and he literally they sawed off the bottom of his thigh and the top
Oh
of
my
his
goodness.
and put metal
Yeah.
screwed metal a metal joint into both ends.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm sure that can be done still if they have to.
yeah,
That must take several months to rehab that.
I would imagine, because that's basically it's an amputation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The headlines in the Jerusalem Post are Iranian ballistic missile commander is killed. So we got rid of their ballistic missile commander. We bombed this huge highway bridge in connecting Tehran to Karaj. That was us. Trump put that on True Social, the bridge going down. Uh, IRGC
No,
claims to have attacked, excuse me, Dubai Oracle Data Center. Okay. And Gulf states consider bypassing Strait of Hormuz with new oil pipelines via Haifa. So
Haifa, that's in Israel. Yeah, yeah. I was reading an article this morning about. Oh, well, it was you know who Tim what do they call him? Tim Cast. Have you ever seen him?
yeah,
Wears a little watch cap, and
yeah,
he was reading an article by a guy who says that he sees what Trump has done has been a consolidation that's going to make America the hegemonic leader of the world. He said what he's done is he's taken Venezuela's oil and bring it to the United States because our refineries on the coast are uh, capable of handling that crude. It's a heavy crude,
yeah,
and we have refineries along the Gulf Coast that can convert that to fuel. And then he's taking Iran's oil out of the formula because that oil is going to Russia and to China.
right,
So we don't need the oil. We don't need the oil coming through the straits because we've got the oil now in Venezuela plus our own oil. So and China needs the oil to keep their machinery running. And the Iranians are inadvertently keeping the oil from China by keeping the straits closed.
right,
Russia has an issue with oil. They need oil. And the Iranian gas fields can be converted to they liquefy them and then ship them, but that can be go feed Europe
yeah,
without the Russian pipelines because you know they killed the Nord Stream. That was a gas pipeline to Europe.
yeah,
So all of this is coming together. He says to save the petrodollar. Interesting.
yeah.
So we'll see
What's your analysis on why our gas prices are up when we have plenty of oil?
Greed, nothing
Do you,
but
th-
pure
do you
greed.
think it's just pure greed, or do you think,
I really do. I think it's pure greed. I think that every time we've had a problem with oil somewhere in the world, the prices just jump up. They go up,
yeah,
boom,
yeah,
and then the problem is solved, and then they go down a penny a month, you know, until they finally get down to a reasonable price.
we have plenty of supply. Um,
Yeah, except for
it,
what
it,
Biden poured out of the strategic reserve.
yeah, right. So yeah, I think some people agree with you. I think some people think it's greed. Some people think it's the oil futures, speculators
Well,
anticipating a shortage, so they raise the price of a barrel of oil, and that bites us. But I still don't quite believe that our gas should be 4.29 a gallon.
well, it's almost $7 in California. I understand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's probably way over that now. What's it in Tucson
It's
right
there.
now?
Yeah, well, I was looking today, and it was like 4.35. I think
Okay.
when
Yeah.
I filled up yesterday,
Yeah. We're
and
we're we're right at 4.29, 4.19.
yeah,
Just this week it went up to four. It's been 3.79 or something like that. So yeah, it's really hard to figure out and not blame it on just greed, since we have our adequate supply of oil. And like you
well,
said, we've added
and
Venezuelan oil too.
as you brought up, it's the speculators, and that's greed too. Whether it's the
Yeah,
greed of the oil
sure.
companies, or the greed of the
Yeah,
speculators, or the
that's
greed
right.
of whoever, it's
Yeah,
it's. I just don't think that the price. I don't think that the cost has, and certainly it hasn't recently gone up
right.
so much that anything that's going in a tank has been affected yet.
Yeah. And
All the stuff.
the EPA just recently lifted all the restrictions on summer fuels.
Yeah,
So, which usually means you can refine it cheaper and get it out to the public. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know till a while back that Arizona has its own blend of fuel that
yeah,
and that's what they were making in the Chevron refinery and maybe the Valero refinery in
in
California that
California,
was being
right?
shipped
Which are
to
closing, right?
Arizona. And
Yeah.
both of those, either one's already offline and the other one's getting ready to go
hmm
offline. And
So, have they got a backup plan for all that, or is anybody
I
else
have
talking
no
about it?
idea.
Yeah.
If it's our governor, she'll veto it if it's good for us.
I heard that she joined with the Nevada governor, who's a Republican, to chastise Newsom for closing those two refineries. So
Yeah, that she actually did that, which is kind of unusual, but I guess it was a vote buying thing.
yeah,
Because she doesn't really care about the people. I know that.
yeah,
Um,
obvious.
and there's so many rumors floating around about her money laundering houses. They own about 5 houses, she and her husband, and they keep refinancing them and taking all this money out of them
Yeah,
and
that's what
everybody says
that's
it's
what.
the cartels.
Yeah, that's what Joe Biden was doing. Joe Biden had refinanced his house like 5 times. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Other than you take the appreciated value out of it every time? I guess.
I
I
guess
don't know.
so. I
Yeah,
guess so. And they also found a bunch of fake notaries and fake documents. In other words, they buy these houses and then they adjust the value, and then somebody notarizes the value, and then they take it to the bank, and then they refinance the house and just take the cash out.
yeah.
And then a few months later, they nullify all that and then start all over again. So
So Arizona, you were affected by the change in the realty fees where they can only charge 2% and or what's negotiated. Is that that happened a couple of years ago or last year, right?
I guess I don't keeping up with that because I'm not buying or selling anything.
Yeah. Well, they used to be a standard 6% fee, right?
Well, it was general. I don't think it was standard. Well, it was standard, yes, but it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't mandated.
Right.
That's just what everybody charged. If you charge more
Yeah.
than that,
Yeah.
they go find another realtor.
Yeah. Now they can't charge more than 2% and you can negotiate anything above that. Um,
Okay.
if you want to, more or less,
Um,
whatever. I just wonder how has it affected the real estate market there in
I don't
Arizona,
know.
and how is the real estate market there? Is it bad, good,
Um,
indifferent?
right now, it's doing pretty well, and it's not. I haven't seen anything, like they talk about the days on the market and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And the Green Valley area, especially, hasn't shown a great deal of. I haven't heard anything, indicating
Yeah,
that it's slowed down too much. And values are going pretty well. The house next door to me
yeah.
just sold for 388,000, so that was good.
Are they still worried about water? What about water for the Sarita and Green Valley and
Well,
the river
there's
coming down from the Colorado River? They're apportioning that now, right? And they cut that back on the farmers or something?
well, yeah, that and now there's supposedly 100-year plan now out that's been done, and they're. I'm looking at Sarita, where you used to live,
Hmm.
well, up there,
Yeah.
and man, if you remember where Sarita Road crosses I-19,
Hmm.
they put in the little hospital in that
Yeah.
intersection.
Right.
Then everything from there down to Green Valley was just open field,
Yeah.
and now it's all two-story houses
Really.
as far as the eye
Wow.
can see.
Hmm.
And
So
then
they
of course
built all that in, huh?
yeah, it's all built in now, or almost. I mean, it's all subdivided
It's
and
part of
and building
Sarita.
is fast.
It's called Sarita there. That's part of the town.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
Sarita until it goes all the way up to Walmart and Duval Mine Road and Nogales Highway.
Yeah. But they
So all
haven't
that's
gone past what's the road that runs north south by the casino? They haven't gone past that, have
that's
they?
no, it runs east west. That's
Yeah.
Pima Mine Road,
Even
and
Mine
there
Road, yeah.
and the Pima Mine Road is the north edge of the reservation,
Okay. Yeah.
and then it goes all the way over to the Nogales Highway, and there's a big subdivision right in there, right across from the casino. So
Mm. Okay. That's all built in now then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Every time I go by there, I tell Mary Margaret, I wish we'd bought 100 acres of that, 5 years ago.
who owned a bunch of land in there was Linda Ronstadt.
Really?
Yeah, she was that old. I don't know if you've ever noticed. There's an old beat up ranch over on the northeast side of Sarita, Saharita, that she owned that ranch area.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and she's probably cashed in on it. no doubt.
I'm sure somebody's tried to get it from her because they're
Yeah.
building houses like crazy there.
So what else can we talk about today? Still waiting for Ken. I don't know if Ken's going to be with us or not. I didn't hear anything from him. So
Yeah.
um, there are. Let me see here. What do you think about our NATO allies hedging on their bets? Are you
NATO?
surprised? Not surprised? As far as helping in Iran or Straits of Hormuz coming down militarily, are you surprised that they're reluctant?
No, I'm not surprised. They,
No,
you know,
we're not. I'm not
we've been
either.
we've been we've been wheelchairing them around
I
for
know.
years.
Yeah.
And then they internally have screwed themselves with the immigration influx,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm having trouble. I really am having trouble with both in Europe, the EU, and the United States of these politicians who've made so much money under capitalism,
Yeah.
and then they're trying to destroy that system. It's like, it's killing the goose that lays the golden egg. It makes no sense.
I guess they're just stupid.
Well, you see, that's so hard to accept.
I
Nobody can
know.
be that stupid
I know
on
nobody can be
purpose.
that stupid, right? I know. It's bizarre. Yeah.
No,
I hear you.
it's a sad thing that the Europeans and the Europeans are starting to get tired of it now. There's
Yeah.
a couple of countries have started closing the doors and saying this
Yeah.
is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, the birth rate amongst white Europeans is like almost close to one, which is not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Right.
And the Muslims are charging them out there at about eight a day. I mean, about
Yeah.
eight people
Yeah.
per family,
I hear you.
and that's with just one wife. Um, so there's no telling what's happening. They're just going to flood the market, is what it boils down to,
Yeah.
and they're going to make Europeans strangers in their own country.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're doing. And I know a lot of the people aren't. They're really unhappy with it, and so they've tried to pass laws where they can't even put anything bad on social media about the Muslims or any of those people.
Well, you say anything like that, you go to jail.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
I mean,
And then
it's
and then uh, the president did that EO on birthright citizenship,
uh-huh. Yeah.
and that's stumbling, which to me is just it's so insane to say that you can. In fact, I subscribe to this thing called Avow, another voice of warning, which is a Latter-day Saints
Mm-hmm.
preparation kind of program, and they were talking about that birthright citizenship, and that only a few countries allow birthright citizenship. You've got to be what we call a natural born citizen. Your parents have to be citizens before you can be a citizen, sort of thing.
Right.
And I facetiously said they're going to make something like a kind of like a chicken egg hatching or egg laying cage, where you don't have to come into the United States. You just plop yourself down in this little chair, and your baby's born in the United States because it goes right across the border and ends up
Yeah.
on U.S. soil. That gives
Yeah.
you citizenship, even if the mother never touches the United States.
Yeah. And they've
Like I said,
all kinds of stories about the Chinese.
Mhm.
You got an industry going where they're shipping pregnant women over here to have their baby, and then they ship them right back to China.
Yeah, and
Late,
you can imagine what that could turn into over time
yeah.
as those kids mature
Yeah.
and come back into the country as U.S. citizens
Yeah.
with full rights and privileges and form militias. And pretty soon we're fighting a two front war,
Yeah.
one externally and one internally.
Yeah.
So,
I don't really see how the 14th Amendment could be interpreted any other way than what they intended at the time. And if they do, they're just rewriting
yeah,
the law because it's pretty clear. And if you read any of the conversation or debates or the papers around that time, it's very clear why they passed the 14th Amendment, right?
Right.
And that's something Trump's talked about before, and he's exactly right. So any other conclusion about that is hogwash.
Well, and one of the things that I heard was one of the arguments for leaving it as it is it's a 100-year precedent. You
Oh, I
know,
know. Yeah, that's to
doing
me.
it wrong
That's
for 100 years. Why change it
yeah,
now? You know,
yeah. Well,
so
you worry because that's the argument that somebody like maybe Roberts would come up with, and like he came up with the argument about the Obamacare fine, calling it a tax, right? So it was okay. And
yeah. Well, that was such a farce because that bill that passed, as I understand it, was a Senate bill,
mhm, yeah,
and the Senate can't initiate taxes. Only the House can initiate
right,
taxes.
yeah,
So he screwed himself and he screwed us all at the
yeah,
same time.
that's right, yeah. And boy, has it fallen flat on its face. And you think back too about the Obamacare, and it was a derivative of Romney Care, when he was a governor.
Yeah.
So and he's mighty quiet these days.
He has been kind of quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, real quiet. Yep.
I haven't heard anything from Kerry either. He's
No.
taken a little sabbatical
Yeah.
from being a rebel.
So did you hear they're going to move one of the departments to Utah, the state of Utah?
Yeah, Salt Lake City, that the BLM, I
National,
think it.
yeah, BLM, yeah, or National Park Service or whatever. Yeah, I just heard that the other day. That's probably a good move. Get them out of Washington D.C.
Well, there's a push amongst some to decimate DC and just take it and blow it out through the country.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have that concentration. The four richest counties in the United States are the ones around DC because all that federal money
Yeah.
gets
Oh,
handed
yeah.
out to people. And you get a
Sure.
job and your son gets a job and his son gets a job and everybody's sucking off or nursing at the, at the trough, the
Yeah.
federal government trough.
Yeah.
And so the idea was to break up that power structure, kill the deep state, as a matter of fact, by sending, I think the FBI was looking at moving to someplace, Dallas or something like that, but just start putting those different departments in different states, bringing the wealth back to the people, and breaking up that cabal that runs DC. That would probably be a good thing.
Well, that would be a great thing. Yeah, it's there's a lot of work to be done, and I don't quite understand the Bondi firing, or replacing her. I don't know if it was a fire or not. They seem to be on good terms. They've both said glowing stuff about each other. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
read
know.
something today about that said that she made two serious mistakes, and the first one, basically the big one was the Epstein files. Her story never got straight on the Epstein files.
Yeah,
Where's the list, the client list? Well, it's on my desk. Well, there isn't a client list, and she kept kind of backing off on that kind of stuff. And then there's evidently a feeling in the administration that she isn't strong enough or hasn't been strong enough or hasn't been pushing hard enough to actually make all these things come true. Like Comey, they've indicted Comey and then it got thrown out.
hmm
And that's to think it's poor legal workmanship to start that process without having a way to make sure that it sticks. And there's all kinds of people walking around DC right now that should be in jail.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's sad because you have all this. You have Congress actually paying to cover up the congressmen that have committed sexual harassment. Right?
Yeah, that
There's a list in, but they keep voting to not do anything about that. It's ridiculous that the
well,
taxpayers should pay, to CYA those guys, right? That makes no
well,
sense.
that's one of the advantages and disadvantages of our political system is they do get to make some of the rules, and there was something came around. It's come around 3 or 4 times, but a new law that says Congress can't make a law that doesn't apply to them,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
There you go.
Insider trading, they've been insider trading when we
Sure.
couldn't for years.
Yeah. And
It's
they've got some
not
people
illegal
that are
illegal.
they're trying to work against that, but fighting an uphill battle. Now you have this Jackson. Is that her name? No, is it Jackson? No, the one that has got 25 counts against her, and she's been the ethics committee finally charged her with.
Oh yeah,
What's her name? Last name? Can't think of it
I
now.
forgot. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she's got to be gone. I mean, they have to kick her out. They can hardly cover for her now. She's
I
under
don't know. Look
federal
what they
indictment, and the ethics committee's banished her. So I don't know. Just seems like that would be a cut and dried case to get rid of her.
well, look at Rangel. Remember Rangel?
Oh, I know. I
He
know.
forgot to mention that he owned a condo in the Bahamas or something.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot that. Right.
It's like I fall back to what Hillary said when they were talking about indicting her for one of her crimes, whatever it was, and her comment was, "If I go down, half of Washington's going to go down with me."
Yeah.
So they all know they're all in each other's knickers, and they all know who's got what on who, and nobody wants to spill the beans on anybody else because they know that as soon as they do that, their kimono is going to get ripped open, and then that whole thing's going to fall like a house of cards.
Yeah. Well, when they had her in front of the Epstein committee or whatever that deal is going on there, she seemed to did pretty good at keeping her mouth shut, not remembering stuff. And she
Yeah,
didn't plead the fifth, but she didn't tell him anything either.
right.
She got mad at the
She's all right.
questions, and
I saw a video many years ago, and I should have captured it, but at the time it just didn't seem that critical. But she was in some kind of a dinner meeting, and she was talking to another politician there, and she was getting ready to be Secretary of State, I think. And she was telling him, whatever you do, don't use the government email system. It's all recorded and captured. And of course, what did we find out? She had her own email system, her own servers in the bathroom there, for
yeah,
which there was no punishment. Like
right,
Comey said, gee, yeah, she violated the espionage law, but she didn't mean to.
yeah, right.
You
And she
don't build a
had,
server in your bathroom accidentally.
and of course, she bleached all her phones,
Yeah,
right?
the bleach bit the hard
Bleach bit.
drives.
Yeah, her phones in her.
So
So here's another headline that Hegseth has fired the Army Chief of Staff.
yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah,
There were so many. Even Obama went through the top ranks of the military and carved them out.
oh
Anybody
yeah,
that didn't go with DEI and all that, transgender and transdressing and all that business, he weeded all that out, and that left us pretty weak. Uh, and frankly, one of the things that I've read, Don, and you'd appreciate this because of your military background,
yeah,
is we have been having such tiny little wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, now this thing in Iran, but we haven't got any really combat hardened generals left
right,
in the upper ranks. None of them have
yeah,
been to war.
yeah,
I mean, we had Schwarzkopf and Crystal and
yeah,
people like that served in Vietnam,
hmm,
and some of those were leftovers from the Korean War, and some of those were left over from the World War II. But
yeah,
since Vietnam, we haven't had a war that really requires a general to be on the battlefield.
hmm,
We've got a whole bunch of theoretical generals
yeah,
running the Pentagon, and nobody really knows how a war works anymore. You've never been in one.
yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah, I appreciate that. And there's a note in here that what was the name of the previous Secretary of Defense he was so messed up. Remember, he went in the hospital for 2 weeks and he didn't tell
Oh
anybody.
yeah, Austin.
Yeah, Austin. Yeah, this This guy was his chief advisor when he was Secretary of Defense.
Hmm.
And then they promoted him to Secretary of the Army, or Army Chief of Staff. So he was invited to retire. We wish him well.
Yeah.
That's what he said. We're grateful for your decades of service. We wish him well in his retirement.
And don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way
don't
out.
let the butt. Good luck, good job, goodbye.
Well,
Right?
he's going to run over and get a job with Raytheon or McDonnell
Well, I hope
Douglas.
not Raytheon. I hope he doesn't go to Raytheon. But you never know. Yeah.
Oh, he's still got all his buddies in the Pentagon, and
They have a bunch of. I just recently got a proxy from Raytheon, to vote on their quarterly election stuff, right? And I looked up all of their board of directors one at a time. I always do that. And there was only one guy that had any kind of science or engineering background.
Mm-hmm.
All the rest of them were HR types, right?
Yeah.
Social scientists or whatever you call them. Yeah, they're not being run by a very good crowd now. So boy, I hope the troops under them hope they know what they're doing and they stand tall, because they don't have a good board of directors right now. Oh, anyway.
Hopefully the line troops will overcome that disability.
Yeah. Well, they usually do, but good leadership always. We had a great CEO when I was working for him. He was fabulous. He was. You could just email. You could email him anytime you wanted to. I did email him one time. I don't remember what it was about, but and he came around a lot too. Their headquarters is up in where the Patriots at, Massachusetts. Their headquarters are up in Massachusetts, but the Missile Systems now is official headquarters since they changed their name to RTX, right? But he used to come down quite a bit and visit us. So leadership, good leadership matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does.
And it keeps the morale up too. That's
keeps
what's
the morale up. Yeah. I saw that Admiral Cooper, the one that's running CENTCOM, is last week he went out to see all the troops in the field. I don't know if you saw the video or not. He gave a briefing, and so he went around and thanked everybody for the good job they're doing all over the Middle East, and he made the rounds and then came back and did a report about the wars. So it was pretty cool.
Was Hegseth with him on that trip? Because I know Hegseth said in a briefing I saw yesterday or the day
he
before,
might have been part of it. Yeah, he might have been there for part of it. Yeah. I think he did, because he talked about the troops on the flight line. That brought back memories of being on a flight line during the war. It's a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You ought to be landing in Cambodia. See how exciting that is.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So it says here, he says, prior to holding the top job, George was the vice chief of the Army, and before that, the senior military advisor to then Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. So that's kind of a black mark against him, because I don't think Austin was getting good advice, and he wasn't a good general. He was not known as a people's general. That Austin guy.
He was an administration water carrier.
Yeah.
He didn't strike me as ever having an original idea that didn't come from Biden or Obama.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
So
let's see. This is just information in the Jerusalem Post they're getting from the States. So what else is going on here? You see AZ Central here. Oh, the Artemis II crew. Yeah, what do you think about the moonshot?
Well, I just read an article that said the toilet stopped up.
Yeah, that's right. I listened to NASA today and they were busy trying to fix that from the ground, right? They were going to recycle it. They were going to do a big recycle and do something else. And I thought, oh Lord,
Oh, mercy.
the first day of
Uh,
a 10-day mission in the toilet
yeah, that's.
in a space capsule, right? Oh my God. I would tell
Oh
them
dear.
make sure you test that baby. That
Yeah,
has to be
I guess there's a way to test it in zero pressure and zero
yeah,
gravity.
yeah, yeah. There must be some way to do that. Yeah. It must have
But
some
anyway,
suction and some kind of suction or pressure involved. It's,
yeah, you got to be
keep
careful though.
every
The
yeah,
the big
you want to yeah, you want that stuff floating around the capsule. That wouldn't be good.
no, that would mess up the thing. There was on those big cruise ships, they have vacuum powered toilets. And I read a story years ago about a woman who was kind of a little bit overweight, and she sat down on the toilet and she decided to flush while she was still sitting there, and that vacuum sucked her intestines out of her body,
Oh my
and
goodness.
it was kind of messy for a while there. But anyway,
That's
that what I'm thinking of that is they can't just open the outer hatch there and let the vacuum of space uh, eliminate the elimination, as it were. So,
wow. So here's the headline. It says the GOP says the deal to end the DHS shutdown reached. GOP leaders say. Have you heard anything about that?
no, well, I kind of did that there was some kind of an agreement reached, but I don't think it solved the problem, and I don't think it brought the government back online. Or it didn't seem to, from what I read.
It says in the coming days, Republicans in the Senate and House will be following through on the president's directive by fully funding the entire Department of Homeland Security on two parallel tracks through the appropriations process and through the reconciliation process. House Speaker. They just blocked me just as I was reading their headlines. That's the trouble with these newspapers nowadays. They want $1 to look at their stuff online. So I think what they're doing is they're accepting the bill as it is as of the Saturday night, 2 o'clock in the morning voice vote. I'm sure you heard about all that, and which wrote $0 in for ICE and Border Patrol. Then they're going to pass a reconciliation bill for ICE and Border Patrol to cover that and do
Yeah.
that with 51 votes. So we'll see. I
Yeah,
think it's a dumb plan. I think they could have just done it a lot easier and get rid of the filibuster and just pass it like it is, pass the regular budget.
yeah.
So
Well,
anyway,
or just invoke the filibuster and make the Democrats sit there and
yeah,
talk and
that's
talk and
right.
talk until they couldn't,
Yeah,
and then do it.
yeah,
And that way you don't kill the filibuster and you get done what you want to get done.
yeah.
I've been really disappointed in Thune.
Well, I think a lot of people are. Yeah,
Uh, you know, he almost, to me, he almost sabotaged the Save America Act with his reluctance to do X, Y, and or Z.
yeah. Find a way out of it by not being responsible, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not
Oh, it
my
wasn't.
fault.
Oh, it wasn't me.
Yeah,
I wanted to pass, but
yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to.
they're really hung up on that filibuster thing. They just don't think that's like their golden egg, and I don't think the Democrats believe that at all. But I think they know the Republicans believe that, and that's why they do what they do.
Well, and from what I understand, that Thune could have killed it and
Yeah,
gone on to the 50-50. All he needed was 50 votes or 49 votes, and Vance would have provided the winning vote.
sure.
And their comment was, well, if we give up the filibuster, then the Democrats will use that against us. Well, as soon as the Democrats get in power, they're going to kill the filibuster.
Sure they are.
Depending on
That's all.
depending on what the ratio is in the House and I mean in the Senate.
Yeah.
But I don't see them. I don't see them hanging on to tradition. They don't hang on to tradition in anything else. So
Yeah,
I
it's overblown in its effectiveness.
well, it used to be fun. One of my favorite things was well, it's not like wasn't really the filibuster, but it was when Dr. Seuss died, and uh, oh, Jesse Jackson read Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Anyway,
So Romania weighs canceling drone contract with Israel. Okay.
are they building them or buying them?
Well, they were building them. Israel's building them. They're called the Elbits, built by Elbit, ELBIT Systems.
Mm-hmm.
Guess Romania was thinking about buying some of them. I don't know why they canceled it. They're sending another carrier over to the Middle East, which is H.W. Bush. Is going to join the fight.
Yeah, I thought the Bush was over there. That's what that confused me. Which one was the one that caught on fire? Was that the Eisenhower?
Let me see. Says that
Usually
Wall
we have.
Street Journal initially reported that Bush could have been deployed to join the Lincoln in the Middle East, though the Ford was chosen to be sent instead. So at some point they might have three carriers, the Lincoln and the Ford, and then the Ford had to fire as temporary docked in Croatia for repairs. So it was the Ford that was over there went to get repairs. The Lincoln's still there, and the Bush is on the way. So
A lot of hardware.
Oh yeah, you bet. Yeah. America's newest Nimitz-class carrier is expected to arrive in the Middle East in several weeks. Would remain in the region foreseeable future. There you go. So they obviously wanted the firepower of two carriers, so while the other one's getting repaired.
Yeah, there was an interesting video the other day that somebody's sending around showing the strategy instead of bringing all three carriers into a single place and having them attack Iran, as a group, they put them in strategic corners because that way they could come in from three different directions, and the Iranian air defense system was not set up to adequately protect the country from attacks from three different directions.
Yeah.
That's why we were so successful.
Yeah. Yeah, there was another YouTube on today I was watching, and the guy was talking about seemed to have some military knowledge about how the Chinese air defense wasn't that great in Iran.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard a lot of their stuff didn't fire when they pushed the button.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be I guess they'll be renegotiating the contracts with the Chinese contractors.
Yeah. And the Chinese contractors will be re-engineering.
Right.
Because that's what they do. They re-engineer everything they steal from us, right?
Right.
So, and they steal a lot. You know where the biggest places that the Chinese work? The gem show.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest places that Chinese spies work to get information, try to get information. I guess it's because, you got an Air Force base there and you got Raytheon there, and so you can kind of mix in with everybody in there. And, who knows? Some people, Paul, some people just can't keep their mouths shut, right?
Yeah.
Loose lips sink ships, right?
Right.
They just, they have something in them. And you see that in DC a lot. They know something, they have it in them, but they just can't not talk about it, right?
Yeah. That's we human beings have this need to be respected and loved.
Yeah.
That knowledge is something that somebody else doesn't have, which makes you more respectable and lovable than
Sure.
the people who don't know that stuff.
Right.
And the only way you can let them know that you know that stuff is to tell them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then boy, and I imagine those guys are trained pretty well to elicit that information. Oh, I didn't. You work for Raytheon? Wow, that's so cool, man. They make some really neat stuff, don't they? Make a yeah, they do, and I work on that project, you know. And but it has a flaw. Let me tell you about the flaw.
Yeah, that's
now
true.
You're a deep knower, and
it's something inbred in us that a lot of people. I don't know what it is. It's like when you go on a job and you go on a new job. When I was younger, go on a new job, and you'd find people that you were supposed to be being trained, but they really didn't want to train you right, especially in their job, because they didn't want you to know what they knew.
Right.
So, but you had to know what they knew to do your job. So, it's just it's crazy. Some people just don't just can't keep it quiet, and when they're training people, you know they're they don't know how to do it or they don't want to do it. When I was a supervisor of electronic technicians over in when I was working in Salt Lake City for Litton Industries, the test manager, and I had about I think there were 5 to 7 ladies working for me that did all the rework on the electronics, screws and nuts and bolts and all that stuff, and putting things together and repairing things. And those 7 women kept an eye on each other and took notes. If you showed any favorites to any one of them, anything like that. So they were in their job when you brought somebody else in training because you wanted to move them to do something else and out of what they were doing, and so you brought somebody else to train it, and it was excruciating getting getting them to train somebody on the job they were doing. Right? It's amazing. They didn't want to change, and it was a promotion for them, right? More money. So you figured they'd just jump right on it. No way. They were happy doing what they were doing, but just pay me more for what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I don't know. It's human nature. So let's see here. What else is going on? We got a few more minutes here. We can jabber a little bit.
Trying to think what I've got
You see,
going on here.
they've come up with window cleaning robots.
Yeah, I saw that. I guess they stick to the window and wander around on
They
suction
set it
cups.
on a window and it's got a wire on it, and it sort of goes in a wiggle mode like a scrub brush.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Putting more and more people out of work.
They're going to
All
put
the
some
window
people out
washers.
of work. Yeah. But there was I saw a guy on that has an AI company. He says that really, he thinks that AI is going to be good to speed a lot of processes up. It won't replace people, but it's going to help speed some processes up, which is going to free up people to do more. So some of the some of the tasks that aren't particularly fun in doing in your job, like engineering, when you're writing documents or writing technical documents and that kind of thing. So you could have AI do that for you. But he doesn't think it's going to have a big impact. And I've heard other people say that it's going to ravage the job market. So I guess we're going to find out.
Well, it will certainly make it'll make each individual more productive. But
Yeah,
the question is, how much more productive do you need? If one person can be 3 times as productive, do you need the other 2 guys?
yeah.
That's
There you go.
the question.
Yeah.
Unless if they can justify their own speeding up and contribute to the bottom line, then yes, it'll be fantastic. But if it just makes Joe who was 1/3 of the technical writing team, be able to write 3 times as fast, then really it's not going to be very good for Tom and
That's
Mary.
right. Yeah. So here's a headline: France bans annual gathering of Muslims in Paris amid terrorism fears. They won't like that.
No,
They won't
that's
like
an issue
that.
that's an issue that's going to have to be faced and faced hard, unfortunately.
So
And
the
it's going to,
Israeli, I don't know what he is, defense minister or something. He told the Hezbollah chief Qasim, "You won't live to see Israel's full response to the Passover attacks."
mm,
So they're going to get rid of him too.
yeah, I tell you,
Unless we got,
you know, it's there's an interesting story about the Panama Canal that the death rate on the workers, even the management while they were building the Panama Canal was so
yeah,
high that at some point during the building of the canal, a new project manager was hired to run the canal. His
yeah,
predecessor had died or moved off somehow,
yeah.
so he went back up to the States because he could bring his wife down. And when they came down to the Panama Canal for him to take over his new job, they brought their coffins with them. Yeah,
Yeah, that was malaria, wasn't it? Malaria that was killing
malaria.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh well, that was the big one. There were poisonous snakes and
yeah,
mudslides and all kinds of other
yeah,
ways to die in there if you wanted to. But yeah, the malaria was the big thing. And one of the things that they found out was they knew insects had something to do with it. So in the hospitals, when the guys were sick, they would take the hospital beds and put the legs of the bed in a cup with water in it to keep the bugs from getting to the beds. But what they were doing was creating breeding grounds for mosquitoes with the
oh
little
Lord,
cups around the bed. So they were importing death before
that's
they knew what the real issue was.
wow. Yeah, that's not good.
No,
That's
nope.
not good. So it says the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, destroys IRGC ground forces base in Tehran, begins striking mobile command centers.
It's interesting. The citizens in Iran were videotaping checkpoints and
Mm-hmm.
then somehow getting the word out to the Americans and the Israelis where these checkpoints were. And these jets were coming in and surgically cleaning up just the
Yeah,
checkpoint
I saw
without
that. Yeah,
damaging the buildings around them.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
So it's I don't know. Like I said, the new leader there at the Panama Canal brought his own coffin with him, and I guess it's going to be a an accoutrement for new
yeah.
IRGC
There you go.
leaders. You get a free coffin. Hopefully, they'll find enough of you to put in it.
Yeah, there you go. You think they use coffins?
I, yeah, they use coffins. You can see them
Yeah,
walking down the street and beating each other on
yeah.
the head and that sort of thing.
There you go. Yeah, not too many of them want to come out in public and talk about it. I know that they
Yeah.
do, but so far they've been able to take care of that. Like you said, I'm sure they got a bunch of Mossad guys on the ground in Iran, don't you?
Oh, I would imagine, yeah. But they're
Yeah,
also the Mossad, aside from the Israeli, operatives themselves have been recruiting people in the population there. So
yeah,
they're getting a lot of information from Iranian citizens who
sure.
are effectively on the Mossad payroll.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the things that I'm reading about our CIA. We've lost what they call HUMINT
Hmm.
uh, capabilities. We don't have secret agents, CIA
Yeah,
agents out on the ground in
right.
Bolivia,
Yeah,
recruiting people to let us know what the hell's going on in Bolivia.
yeah.
Uh,
I've heard that I heard that told many times. The
yeah.
spooks. We had spooks over in Thailand.
Hmm.
That's what we called them. The spooks.
Yeah. Spooks.
They're here. Yeah, they were sneaking around over there. They were busy boys.
Yeah.
So, well, that brings us to the end of the hour. We're just about there. Thanks for coming on, Paul.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I enjoy these little chats.
Yeah,
I really
sure.
learn a lot when especially with you and Jeff and Ken. You guys have your ducks in a row, and you have such a wide variety of experiences that it's
Yeah.
it's
It's
pretty
fun, isn't
fascinating
it?
for an old country boy like me to sit here and
Yeah. Well, I think we're all,
listen to giants.
yeah, I think we're all fascinated by it. It's fun for me, and I know Ken enjoys it, and I know Jeff does.
Yeah.
He is just his poor little wife is going through probably go. I don't know if they're giving her chemo now or what they're doing. I think they're trying some experimental things.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's
So
a
it's
sad
rough.
way to go. I saw and give me a second, I'll tell you who it was. It used to be a congressman, and he's got prostate cancer, stage 4 prostate cancer.
Mm.
Shucks, I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, he was on an interview the other day, and he had a kind of, an upbeat kind of, he got the diagnosis in December. They gave him
Yeah.
60 days. And but they put him on some experimental drugs, and he now thinks he's got another couple of 3 months before it kills him. He said the
Wow.
problem with I said prostate. It wasn't prostate cancer. It was pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic. Yeah, that's deadly.
Pancreatic cancer. And they said the problem with pancreatic cancer is your body uses your pancreas so little that it doesn't show up till it's already infected your kidneys and your liver and everything else. So that's what happened to him. And it's also gotten into his spine, and it was just eating him up internally.
Can you live without your pancreas? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I haven't had the opportunity to try. So
yeah, we have a friend that's catty corner to us, a neighbor that's had pancreatic cancer, and he was treated down went to some treatment outside of villages somewhere. I think down to Tampa or something. But that was 2 years ago, and he's hanging in there. So,
that's good. Must have caught it early enough to ward it off before it got metastasized.
Okay, we'll sign off for now. Thanks again, Paul.
Oh, you bet.
And for this 4 Minute America signing off for the week. We hope you'll join us next Friday night, and we'll put another show up. But this will be up tomorrow night. So God bless you all, and God bless America, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Paul. Good job.
Now wait a minute, Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
Fiddle-dee! I don't much like the way you celebrate.